Welcome to the Rockwardness Podcast, where every episode we talk to a musician about their journey with music from its earliest beginnings to the present, and they play us one of the first songs they ever wrote. We like to talk about their path as artists and people, from creative kids to even more creative adults. And of course, we also chit-chat about 90s nostalgia, you know, whatever feels relevant in the moment. We're your hosts. I'm Rose Sean.
I'm Terrence LeClaire.
And I'm Tony Tancredi.
Today we're talking to Bob Love, aka the lovely, wise Natasha Pecco. She's basically a Renaissance woman with her fingers and toes in all sorts of artistic pursuits. She does music, she's danced, she's modeled, she edits video. She's amazing. She's also building, low-key, an international community of creative people. No big deal. Her current project, Bob Love, has thousands of monthly listeners on Spotify, and you may also know her from her previous musical iteration as Faye, but I think Tony has the coolest way to introduce her.
Well, I met Natasha on tour when I was on tour with Ella Voss. She came on to do, merch and help out with art, I think, something. And there was a show in Seattle, and the opener never showed up. And they were like, hey, we need to find a band, quick. And Natasha just kind of slowly raised her hand and was like, well, I have my laptop with my sessions on it. Maybe I mute the vocals and I can just use that, like spitballing. And everyone was like, that's amazing. Get on, you're on in 20 minutes, And she absolutely slayed, and I was a fan ever since.
Opportunity and preparedness. When the two meet, magic.
Beautiful.
But also that is truly like everybody's dream come true, right? Like,
totally.
Hey, the opener didn't show up. Can you go on?
And it's like, hell yeah.
Props to her, man.
Must be prepared, though.
And I think Natasha has been preparing for this her whole life. So we're going to let her tell us about it, about where she got started. Everyone starts somewhere, so let's go ahead and start our little backyard vibe circle with Bob Love. This crazy owl and, I think like a red-tailed hawk or something. And they would just like swoop around and scare away the parakeets.
Incredible.
And he smelled like vodka.
Spooky.
So,
spooky.
What a
man.
character.
Yeah. It would smell like vodka. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. Oh, are we?
Yeah, we're live.
We're
Oh,
live.
we're recording. Oh, that's
for
great.
the
Oh, yeah.
love of Bob.
Yes.
Welcome, Bob.
Hello. Natasha.
Thank you for having
so
me,
good
guys.
to see you.
So I was listening to your music on Spotify this morning, and Losers is basically like the entire ethos of our podcast.
Brilliant.
Like in a song. So
Do you
I
need
was
a
just
theme
like,
song?
I was
right.
like, yes. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to talk to her because we're all fucking losers and we're cool with it. And that's kind of like the whole point of this. Playing something vulnerable and like, that, you may or may not have ever shared with anybody. Anyway, I was just like, oh yes, this girl gets us.
Yes. Well, I'm honored to be here and to be a loser with you guys. Thank you for having
Yay.
me. Yeah.
So everyone starts somewhere. So let's start
Yeah.
start at the beginning. So
Okay.
how did this come to be? The very origins.
Yes, like the birth of
Sure.
life.
Well,
or-
if that's part
Could
of the
you actually
musical
go back to the
journey.
Big Bang and
Yeah.
tell us?
So
Actually,
at the beginning of
everything.
time, there was nothing.
Nice.
And then I was born.
Yes.
And
Go on.
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, I guess the origin story. I am from Vancouver, Canada. I was born there in 1994 and just grew up listening to all sorts of music. My dad would play like Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, Minnie Riperton, like all sorts of neo-soul, jazzy, bluesy people. And then at my mom's, so my parents separated when I was 3 years old, and at my mom's house, we would listen to like Nelly Furtado and classical music and like Dido and sort of the Canadian pop
Dido, yes.
ladies, yeah, and like British pop ladies, I
Wait,
guess.
I was like, is Dido Canadian?
No.
She's big in Canada, though, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Celine.
Oh, I mean, yes, we love Celine.
Yes.
Canada. And then, yeah, so growing up, I was really into like dance and musical theater and was always just like performing and making up songs and was sort of this just like in the ether kid who was never grounded on the planet Earth. just the other day I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me about how when I was little I would be like, I need to go have a shower and meditate and cleanse myself. Like, I'll be back in 20 minutes.
Wait, how old were you?
4. Like,
Wow.
just,
Nice.
yeah. So was always very
That's amazing.
into
Right.
sort of the esoteric, spiritual energetics of the
Yeah.
world. And I found that music really allowed me to explore and communicate that world and those feelings and sort of that connection that I always felt with people and just like the planet around me in a really concrete and understandable way, because those things aren't always, like, language can only communicate so much. And when you have vibration and sound and you know, poetry and rhyme and stress and all these different ways that you can sort of manipulate and use language and music, it just allowed me to understand and communicate myself and how I saw the world in a really powerful way. And so, yeah, I just grew up making up songs in the shower and making up plays and musicals with my sister and our neighbors, and then went to fine arts school in grade 3. So from grade 3 to grade 9, I went to a fine arts school where we learned through the arts and would do like plays about ancient Greece, and we would make pottery when learning about like Greek sculpture, and we would dance about math, and just like none of it really
Love
made
it.
sense.
God,
I don't
that
know that I
sounds
really
incredible.
learned.
I wish
Yeah.
I went to your school. Wow.
Do you remember any of the first songs like you came up with?
The very first songs? No. I mean, my mom sent me a picture of the lyrics. My mom would like write them down. She would like stand outside of the
Yeah.
bathroom and write
Oh, that's
down my
good on
lyrics.
her.
as I
My
was,
mom
like,
would do
yeah.
that
in
too.
the
Yeah.
shower. And one was just like, I am sunshine, I am the flowers, like I am the rain falling down on the grass.
That's beautiful.
yeah.
yeah.
And the truth.
Yeah, like, aren't we?
I love that your mom was like outside the
Yeah,
bathroom
she's
writing.
like, this is genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there like
My
any
kid
like
is a
melodies?
genius.
Like any kind of melodies or anything like spoke to you, like styles or
I mean, my very first song ever was actually, before I could speak, I would wake up in the morning. Instead of crying, I would wake up singing in my own baby language, the Barney song.
Oh,
So it was the Barney melody, just in like baby words, because I couldn't speak.
that's so
Word.
Oh,
sweet.
that is
That's adorable.
That was actually my
cute.
first song.
That's
I bet that's
adorable.
way better than
Yeah.
the real Barney song,
Yeah.
actually.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you said you were born in 94. So
Yeah.
you're pretty much my sister's age. That checks out. Yeah, she definitely loved Barney. And
Yeah, like Barney, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, I can get down with. Barney was like to the chagrin of everyone else, but
Fair.
you know.
Yeah. I honestly couldn't remember a single thing about the Barney.
But Barney had a message
show.
of love.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I love
positive.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You love me.
We're a happy
Be
family.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
But-
like This Old Man a little bit, the melody.
Oh, yeah,
But-
this old
yeah.
man, he
Yeah.
But that's
Same.
no, but it's
Damn it, Barney.
see Barney took that melody to a whole new
Barney
level
fucking
because
ripped it
Barney was
off. No.
well no Barney was like all about love and
Yeah.
so
And I'm all
yeah.
about love as
There
Bob
we go.
Love.
Bob
Yeah,
Love.
Bob Love.
Yo,
It's
the
all
origins
full
is really
circle.
coming.
There we
I
go.
know we're working our way up
You
to
had no
like
idea Barney was
No,
such a big
yeah.
influence
I
on you,
didn't.
did you?
I really didn't.
because like there's something so amazingly like experiential and immersive about how you approach like the whole For the Love of Bob like concept and
Yeah.
everything. I want to get to that, but I want to stay first to like you're doing wild musicals about math and
Yes.
dances about math,
Yes.
and like that must inform like your songwriting somehow. Like
Definitely. I mean, growing up, like, songs were never, like, I didn't grow up thinking about song structure and, like, rhyme scheme and all the things that you sort of learn later in life, especially in my official, I guess, training, having gone to college for music and just trying to inform my creative expression with some academic
Substance.
yeah,
like,
whatever, you know,
Procedure.
prove myself or I don't know.
Protocol.
Yeah, but so growing up, yeah, music was always very like musical theater informed, just because I loved, like, life was a performance and it was a musical and it was a TV show, you know, like everything, while being so like visceral and real, also had this very like it's not real
Yeah.
feeling to it.
Matrix.
Yeah, which my song Matrix.
Yes.
But yeah, so then after going to arts high school, I transferred to just like a regular public, I mean, I always went to public school, but just a regular run-of-the-mill high school where I basically put myself in any sort of creative class that I could, whether that be creative writing or the theater class, the jazz ensemble that would meet at like 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, and my mom.
Wow,
would be
that
like,
is commitment.
yeah,
Oh
no,
wow.
But I loved it, like those were my people. That was where I felt
Yeah.
challenged and engaged and excited to like learn and be there. Despite, my poor mom having to drive me to school at 6:30 in the morning and being like, why do you do this? I already work all day. Like,
She's-
I don't want to do this.
She's such a fan, though.
Yeah,
Your mom
and
sounds like a
champion,
trooper.
true champion, yeah.
She sounds amazing.
She is amazing. And I definitely wouldn't be here without either of my parents, being as supportive as they were for all of my curiosities and desire to just like understand and express myself. And them always just championing that and believing in me and wanting me to exist in the world how I wanted to exist in the world instead of how they thought I should exist in the world, which, not everyone is lucky enough to have parents who
Oh,
are
definitely
like that.
Yeah,
not.
that's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of what this podcast is about is just like having people feel good about being themselves and
Totally.
expressing themselves. And that sometimes it might feel weird for people at first, but thank goodness that people stick with it.
Yeah. So when I graduated high school, my mom was basically like, get a degree just so you have it. You can be in whatever you want.
Mine
Just
did that
do
too.
it, please. And I was like, okay, like I like school enough and I'm, there are ways that I can study things that I'm passionate about. And I respect you and your wishes, and I think it'll like enhance my life as well. So yeah, of course I'll do that. And I initially had applied for a musical theater program, so I was gonna go study musical theater at a local college in Vancouver, and I got in, and I was like, cool, this is sick. I'm gonna do this, and then I was kind of like, oh, but one, I'm a woman of color, and like Broadway is not very. At the time, it wasn't super inclusive.
Pre-Hamilton.
It was like
Yeah.
pre any sort of musical that featured people of color and that had, main roles being people of color and told the stories of people of color in a way that I was interested in. And I didn't want to be the ensemble, I didn't
Yeah.
want to be in the background.
chorus or whatever.
And then the other part of that was I realized I wanted to tell my stories and sort of like add my perspective to the world of music and art and just like culture in general. And I felt, doing the same musical day in and day out for months wasn't necessarily going to be adding what I'm here on this earth to experience and kind of share. It wasn't going to, add that to the world. So I decided to not go to that school. And I took a year off and modeled a bit and prepared my audition for the Berklee College of Music, which I ended up getting into with a full 4-year scholarship, which
Amazing.
Wow.
like, thank God I would not have, wouldn't have been there had that not
Wow. No, I
happened.
was going to say something kind of irreverent about like where, Berklee College of Music where all the best musicians drop out of, but like
Yep.
you got a fucking scholarship to
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That is no small
Congrats.
feat.
Thank you.
That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that, I mean, despite, me working really hard and offering what I did to the table in my audition, I attended the Sarah McLachlan School of Music from 10th grade to 12th grade, which is like an after-school music program for high school and elementary school students in the Lower East Side of Vancouver.
You
That's
just
cool.
blew my mind a little bit.
How do
Sorry.
we forget that? She's like the hugest
No.
Canadian like star.
My 16-year-old self in my head just freaked out. I was like, "There's a Sarah McLachlan School of Music."
Yeah.
Like, oh
What?
my god!
It's sick. She's just
Wow.
an incredible human and has been a huge support just in like my music and my education and my career thus far. And so I'm like very grateful to her and to that school and to just like the free education that they're offering to
God,
students.
Canada is so supportive of
I
their
know.
artists.
Yep.
What the-
I did like a songwriting retreat with a bunch of people, but a couple of folks from Canada, and they were just doing these cool like artist residency things
Yeah.
that were sponsored by the government. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, we don't do that here. I
No.
wish we did.
It's huge. It's so important. It means like up and coming artists like myself have access to resources and funds and things that we wouldn't. Like my whole launch of my project has been funded by the Canadian government.
That's
You're
so
kidding.
amazing.
That is
Yeah.
That makes me happy
so
to
cool.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really
Yeah.
I'm really glad that exists. I'm just like, sorry, I think I've been sitting here making weird faces at you because the Sarah McLachlan School of Music thing just like shook my world.
Yeah.
But so tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure when she founded the school, but basically it's a free music school that does basically any instrument you can think of. Well, maybe not. It's like guitar, bass, and then there's like an ensemble class where they have like a drummer and vocalists and the whole sort of band thing. And then there's voice lessons, and I did the voice lessons there. So it's like a group voice lesson and then private lessons as well. And you go to the school like a couple times a week after school, and you just like sing with your friends, and
That's cool.
it's really
I
it's
mean, I knew I
beautiful.
liked her, but wow.
It focuses on like, it's kind of like focuses on more modern music, right?
Yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah.
That's so cool.
So it teaches you some like how to like the technical aspects of singing and how to
Yeah.
actually like do it and what you're using in your voice to sort of produce the sounds that you're producing, which was all stuff I had never thought about or heard about or considered before. And then, it teaches you how to like sing with a group of people and how to blend and how to learn parts and just like instills you with how to do music, I guess.
You heard about this school and that was inspiring to you and you went there. Like, what was like right before that? It sounds like you were already like very much like music's going to be like this thing I focus on to express myself. Was there like any moment that clicked where you're just kind of like, yeah, definitely? And was there any musical moment that kind of represents that for you?
Yeah. So when I got into Berkeley, I was like, sick. I'm going to get this education in music and be a superstar. Or I didn't even know. Like, I knew I wanted to be involved in music, but I didn't know what I wanted my career to look like, or if I wanted to be a performer, if I wanted to, be on the business side or a songwriter. Like, I had no idea what the options were. So I got to Berkeley and I put myself down for the music business degree because I was like, that's the thing I know the least about, and I think it'll like expand me the most.
One of my friends did that actually.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know how the business works. Like, I can get by on singing, I can get by on writing songs, and I can still take classes that have to do with those things. But I think, having a music business degree would be the thing that would sort of amplify my potential in the industry. And then I realized that I would have to take a statistics class.
Wait, what? To do music business?
Yeah. And I was like,
no.
oh no. And like an accounting class. And I was like, I stopped math in grade 11. Like, why would I do this to myself?
I sang a musical about math. I'm not doing any more.
Literally, I danced math. I do not do statistics.
No.
Absolutely not.
If it doesn't involve rhyming, I'm not there.
Don't need
So
it.
I quickly switched gears to vocal performance.
Yeah.
Sorry, I snort laughing.
It's okay. I do too sometimes. So I did vocal performance and was kind of like, this is not it either, because it wasn't like how to be a performing artist. It didn't like teach you what it means to be an artist in the industry, which is kind of what I was interested in learning about. It was more like, this is what this is what singing is.
This is how to
and how you do
technically
it.
sing, yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's cool, but I want to sing like me, not like how the technical whatever. And the one thing was, though, that I quickly learned was that I was able to pick up, like my teacher would be like, do this with this part of your voice. And I had no idea technically what she means, but I would kind of like just do it. And she's like, you're doing it. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but okay, cool. Like, so I was able to kind of like manipulate my voice and pick up the things that they were teaching me, but it didn't feel like it was like integrating. So then I decided to shift gears again, and I did professional music, which is where you make your own degree or your own like focus, your own major. So I focused on songwriting, music business, and vocal performance, because then I got to kind of pick and choose the classes that I wanted from all those things and didn't have to do
There we go.
the classes I didn't want to do.
I'm very envious of your academic life. Can I just say that?
It was pretty great. I mean, it was also very like chaotic, and there were some dark times, and just like, I mean, you're 19, 20, 21 in this foreign city, like with these foreign people, and you get there and you're like, I can be whoever I want to be. And I've always been a very like seek yourself, understand yourself person. So I got in this space and was very just like overwhelmed by the energy and the people and the opportunities. And so I partied a lot, for sure.
As one does.
Yeah.
Yes.
As one does when they go to college.
Yeah.
Like, give yourself
it just
a
like
break
got
on
a little
that.
dark, and like it didn't feel good, by the end of it. But what was I gonna say? The moment where I like knew, I was in my second year and had just recently fallen in love with a boy, and I wrote a song in like 20 minutes about our love, and it was called Incredible, and it was the first song that I had ever written with like, after writing it, I was like, I'm going to put this song out into the world. Like, this is something that I want to share with people. This is something that I feel represents my artistic voice and sort of is an experience that I want to share. So from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to like be an artist and like release music. What'll my name be? And like, what'll sort of the whole thing be? So I came up with the name Faye. From my last name, which is Pecco, but it's spelled Pheko. And everyone always said Fako. And I was like, ooh, Faye, that's cool.
Did you spell it P-H-E?
P-H-E with an accent on the E.
Oh, that's cool.
I like that.
So I was like kind of invoking the fairies a little bit with like the Fae.
That's where my brain went immediately, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of my first artistic offering to the world. And from there, I sort of created this little band with some friends from school, and we held this show in the Berkeley cafeteria as part of this like CAF show series that Berkeley does. I got like a coveted Friday night spot. I was a first or a second year, and that like doesn't happen. And so many people showed up, like more than I ever expected.
That's
and it was
so
like
rad.
the best, probably the best show I've ever played, just because it was like my first show as me, the performer, the artist, the like.
That's very powerful.
Yeah, it was just this huge exchange of energy and this really powerful, beautiful thing, because I was creating with my friends, performing for my friends. So it was just like a really beautiful, transformative moment. And that was kind of when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this forever, or for as long as it feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then, I wrote music for like 3 years.
Oh, can we hear a little bit of Incredible? Just a little.
I don't know
bit.
the chords.
Sing
to be
it.
No,
honest.
A little bit,
it's
like
okay.
melody, or-
I wonder like if maybe later we'll edit in
Splice
a
it in.
recorded
Okay,
piece.
cool.
Yeah.
All right,
but
splice it in.
It's on Spotify.
but no, I understand. Like sometimes you're like, I haven't played that in.
Totally.
20
I mean,
years.
I
Yeah.
actually wrote that. That was my first time top lining a song. So my friend sent me a track, and I was sitting in a practice room just listening to it, and this song just kind of came out in
love
one
that.
swift go, and I was like, whatever that was, like that was dope. I want to do that more.
That's so
Nice.
cool.
So that was my first time top lining, and my first time writing with then the intention of like sharing it with the world. Previously, I had written songs on guitar, just like kind of for myself and with my friends, but I had never written with the intention of like, this is going to be something that I share with the world.
So that's interesting. So you went to music school, having never actually written something that you were expecting to release.
Mm-hmm.
Were you just sort of like waiting to be like properly educated in it, or like I'm not ready yet? What was that about?
I think, I mean, if we're being honest, there was definitely an aspect of not believing I was good enough, or not believing that I had the life story and the, whatever is needed to like be a star and to like make it in the industry. Because in the time that I grew up, it was very like tabloid drama, famous people getting into trouble, and like young
Who were like some of the
artists.
stars like that were in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the Britney Spears
Sure, right. It was
era,
that era,
know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Lindsay Lohan.
That's
all
true.
the,
Oh,
Gosh,
like,
right. And that was when she was really
Disney
kind of
stars,
having trouble.
who had their meltdowns, which is interesting because growing up, me and my little sister were approached a lot by like TV people and ads people and model people being like, we want your children in our things. And my mom was always like, no,
Your
they're
mom was
too
like,
young.
I do not think
I don't
so.
want
Walk
that
away.
for them.
You know what? I think
Yeah.
that's for the best.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But I was definitely partially just like not believing I was good enough, thinking I needed to learn more or gain more experience, or I think part of me also just like wanted it to be handed to me to just like be discovered, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there was a myth. It's sort of been dispelled at this point, but I feel like there was this sort of like myth of like being discovered. That
I'll make you a star, kid.
Yeah.
Like I
Well,
wanted that. I
certainly when
wanted
I
the
was
YouTube
young.
virality, or it was like
Yeah,
when YouTube
like-
was starting was when I grew up, and so there was just a lot of like, you put out one video and you get discovered. And
Right,
you
like
get
you're just
your
going to be so
thing,
great
you know?
that
Yeah.
your audience is just going to magically
Fall at your
find
feet.
you, and then you will be huge. Yeah.
Going viral was an aspiration.
Yes.
Yeah, and it still is. Like,
Well, sure.
if not more now.
But even, I mean, again, like, I'm just going to date myself, but like, you know, even when I was a teenager and like that wasn't a thing yet, like we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media, like there was still this myth of like discovery, you know, that you're just going to sort of like, I don't know, be playing a coffee shop somewhere and some really important person is
Exec
going to
guy,
see you
yeah.
and like, you know,
Here's a record
Star is
deal.
Born.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, here's a record deal.
Because all the stories
Honey.
are about like, oh, this person handed this demo to this person, but
Yeah.
they don't tell you the story of like, for 3 years I
Yeah.
was sending my demo
Yeah.
to everybody.
Yeah.
And just like,
Yeah.
Right. The rest of the legwork isn't
Yeah.
part of the narrative. But
Yeah.
you said something that I thought was interesting. You kept saying like, I didn't feel like I had the life experience yet. Did you ever sort of intentionally torture yourself in order to give yourself a life experience that you felt like would make you more artistically valid?
That is a good and interesting question. What I'm coming to understand as I grow up is that as humans, we have a tendency to kind of inherently torture ourselves just based
Yes.
on
Yeah.
like the systems that we've created to force ourselves to exist within. And so now a big part of my like ethos, I guess, as an artist is to stop torturing myself and to be less cruel with myself and the world around me and to just let it flow, let it be. So I think growing up, I definitely, I don't know if I was like consciously, purposefully torturing myself, but I definitely loved the drama, loved the like dark night of the
Yes.
soul, like crying in my bedroom
I
kind of
just-
thing.
Was there any music that kind of like helped that? You know, because I was really into emo, and that sounds like the same vibes. kinda.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was
helped
emo. I
with
was just
that?
into music like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that that's probably what you just said is probably why I was like into stuff like that.
Yeah.
And still am.
I don't think I ever listened to. No, I'm gonna say no. I definitely like would calling myself out here a little bit, but even till this day, like the other day, I was editing a music video, like coloring it, and I was on the verge of tears, and I was like, "Okay, girl, chill. Like it's not that big of a deal. This is like." For you, it's gonna look how it's gonna
Right.
look, and
Right.
like you can stop, you can take a break. There's
Nobody's
no
gonna fire
deadline.
you.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Right.
And so I just was like sitting there making up songs to myself. And then I was like, why don't we choose differently? So I've been doing this thing where I choose differently when I'm faced with like something that I act out of habit with, or like have a triggered reaction to. I stop and I'm like, okay, how can we choose differently in this situation to then, you know, shift to a timeline that feels more empowering and feels more like the life that you want for yourself instead of this like habitual BS that you're stuck in.
I
love
love
So-
that.
God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you are so
Sitting-
wise.
I know, right?
For the love
The
of
past
Bob.
2 years have mosquito.
I know.
Killed him.
They love me.
Podcasting, well, we do have
Yes.
bug spray
All good.
if you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
pause
In
and do
In a
that.
minute. But so I was sitting there like on the verge of tears and I took a deep breath and I was like, okay, choose differently. What timeline do we want to go down here? And I put on some like early 2000s diva jams, like Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson
Yeah.
and like Fighter by Christina Aguilera.
Perfect.
And I was just sitting there singing at the top of my lungs while I edited this music video, and I felt great. And it was like became this fun thing, like when I was a teenager, editing videos with my friends and just like having a good time. And I was like,
Love
dude,
that.
this is so cool that you literally just created the reality that you wanted
Yes.
because you consciously stopped and like looked at how you were creating what you didn't want and how you were feeding into this really negative, destructive, disempowering space that nothing externally was doing to you
Right.
or creating
It was,
for you.
it was all you.
Yeah.
You were doing
And
that
you
entirely
could
on
have
your own.
changed it, so I did, and I don't even remember. Oh, like what kind of music did I turn to in those
listen
sad
to
times?
music that's going to bring you to
Yeah.
that new reality.
Yeah,
That
so it's a
makes
lot
so
of
much sense.
like diva pop sing along kind of things. Disney, I like grew up loving Disney.
What Disney?
Beauty and the Beast,
Yes.
Oh, gosh,
Mulan,
yes.
So
Pocahontas.
sweet.
We need to paint with all the colors
Yes,
of the wind.
and like just around the river bend.
oh yeah, that's a good one too.
So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that I can sing to and just
Yeah.
kind of like get lost in the melodies. yeah, that's kind of my go-to.
It's amazing.
That's so fun. I can just picture you just being like, "Thanks for making me better."
Literally,
Click,
yeah.
click, click. I am cutting the shit out of this
Yeah.
video.
That was exactly it. My boyfriend was sitting there like playing Game Boy, just like giggling to himself at me. And I was like, you know what? I just changed my life in this moment.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
I'm
I
proud
love
of
that.
Listen,
myself.
make fun all you
Yeah,
want, but I
yeah.
am living it
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, flip the script.
Yeah.
I love that so
Literally,
much.
yeah.
Yeah, because that could be a T-shirt. Choose different.
Choose different.
Yeah,
I love
choose-
that.
yeah.
Like, I don't,
It's my,
yeah.
it's my new slogan, just like for this stage.
Okay, so you had, because you said you were like really had naturally spiritually inclined with your first song about I am the tree, I am the, everything,
Flowers.
the flowers,
The grass,
like
yeah.
you already had that in you. Like, was there a moment then that kind of like where that spirituality entered your music? Was that with Incredible? Was that with like after that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
that
think
practice that you developed.
Totally. I think when I went to Berkeley, I definitely disconnected from that. That was kind of like when everything fell apart in a sense. I got so focused on like the external world around me and how I fit into this sort of like mosaic of sounds and people and energies and experiences, and I just like got really overwhelmed by everything that was going on and felt really out of control. Just like didn't know why I was doing anything I was doing or why any of us were doing anything we were doing. And so I was drinking, I was partying, I was like hooking up with people, I was just all over the place, and I was a mess and like really entangling myself in the energy of the community around me and making myself dependent on that to like feel anything. So I definitely like lost touch with all of my spiritual practices, all of my spiritual beliefs, which I didn't even know I had really, because I never looked at them as spiritual beliefs. I just looked at them as like, this is how the world makes sense to me. And at the time, like the New Age movement wasn't really a public sphere, and I don't really identify with the New Age movement at all, even though they have like language and ideas that communicate quite well a lot of the things I believe in. I think there's just this bit of distortion often that happens with just like capitalism and
commodification
Yeah.
of spiritual ideas. Yeah,
and
I
like
feel you.
washing them down in a way that like totally spiritually bypasses people's like 3D real life experiences. Like, yes, you create your own reality, but also we exist in a world that hugely disempowers large groups of people and teaches them not to believe in themselves and teaches them that they're not capable of doing things and achieving things and being things. And it doesn't matter how much you believe you are not that if the external world you engage with, like,
Right. There's creating your own reality, and
Yeah.
then there's also like actual reality
Yeah.
in a sort of more concrete sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like what was there, like Byron Katie, right? I like her a lot, but she talks about loving what is. Yeah, like you have to acknowledge the reality that's already present so that you can change it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to know the rules so you can break
Yeah,
them.
totally. Yeah. And so when I was in Berkeley, I just like completely was disconnected and was like in the void, so to speak. And then that was when like Faye was birthed. And I think because that was when Faye was birthed, it became this very like, okay, what face do I want to show the world? Like, what is the mask almost that I'm going to share? Not even mask, but like, what is the like one piece of myself that I'm going to then turn into my whole self? And like R&B had been such a big part of my life growing up, and just like the people that I was working with and engaging with really validated and supported and were excited about that music and the music that I was making within that genre. So I was like, okay, I am R&B. I am this like sensual, cute, femme like being, and that is going to be what I share with the world forever. And this feels right. And people were validating that. So it really like solidified that was the path that I was meant to go down. So I created Faye, and I created as Faye, and I released all this music that I was really proud of, but there was always this feeling of lack and this feeling of like I was releasing music to prove that I was good at that kind of music, and I was, you know, writing R&B music to prove that I could write R&B music and to get the validation that I was good at writing that music. And there was no spiritual aspect really. I mean, at the time it was very healing, and I've always seen music as a form of healing and as a way of like community building and connection. But it was funny because at that time I was just like so disconnected from any sense of healing or community or any of that. So I think I was trying to convince myself that I was doing the work through this music. And then 2 years ago, I had this experience where I just woke up the next day and I was like, I need to stop drinking. I need to just like look at my life, and not for anyone else, not because I feel guilty or I believe that it's something I should do, just because I know that this is what I need to do for myself in this moment if I want to survive the rest of my life, and if I want to have a life that is meaningful to me and to a community and to my family and to my partner and, you know, to music. Like, let's make this mean something, because if it doesn't mean anything, if we're all just floating around in this rock in space, like, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that I can't write a story for my life that I think is meaningful for me and that I want to share. So that was kind of like the rock bottom that allowed me to wake up, so to speak, and allowed me to reconnect with my spiritual faith, which is very much just like we are all one here on this earth. While we may be in these individual bodies, like we all come from some thing that created DNA, which allowed us to like exist here on this planet that happens to be like perfectly formulated for us all to exist.
Somehow we're all sort of magically adapted to
Yeah.
exactly what's happening around us.
That's amazing. You had that
Yeah.
like awakening, like kind of moment, you know?
Yeah.
So you didn't release anything until Faye, but you did write stuff.
I did write
So
stuff.
what do you want to show us?
I can show you this song that I wrote when I was, I think, 17. It's called Myself Undone, because angsty teen heartbreak song, yes.
Yeah.
And it is about, so one of my good friends asked me to prom because none of the boys that I liked ever in high school liked me back. Big drama internally.
Their loss.
Which really led to me weaponizing my sexuality. Shout out to trauma. But so this boy asked me to prom, and I was like, yay, of course. Like, we're BFFs. Would love to go with you. And then it turned into this kind of like flirty thing, and I thought he liked me. And so then I was like, I like him. I have feelings for him. And it was not reciprocated, basically. And so I wrote this song called Myself Undone. And yeah, this is called Myself Undone by Natasha Pecco. Lying helpless in my bed, I drift through the days like the thoughts of my broken head. Can't put it together, all the pieces shattered on the floor. Not sure how to feel anymore, 'cause I misunderstood all that you said to me. Tried to fight my fears, but found myself undone, and the earth it spun, and it knocked me down, down, down. Yeah, it knocked me down. The melodies we shouted in the nighttime when we ran, I memorized each line and crease that I found in your gentle hand. Tuned in perfect harmony, but I turned the other way, for the words exchanged in whispers were much too much for me. And I misunderstood all that you said to me. Tried to fight my fears, but found myself undone, and the earth it spun, and it knocked me down, down, down. Yeah, it knocked me down. love so deep inside, too hard for them to find. For the feelings that I found in you left me afraid in black and blue. For my fears, but my fears fought back, and I'm unprepared for this heart attack. I'm going down, 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 and the earth still spins around. Yes, the earth still spins around, 'cause I misunderstood all that you said to me. Tried to fight my fears, but found myself undone. Yeah, I misunderstood all that you said to me. Tried to fight my fears, but found myself undone. And the earth is spun, and it knocked me down, down, down. Yeah, it knocked me down. Said it knocked me down, down, down. Yeah, it knocked me down.
Yes.
I like to sing in a very uncomfortable range.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, first of all, that sounded great, and I absolutely loved that line. I fought my fears, but my fears fought back. That was fire.
Thank you.
That is a great lyric.
Young poet.
Yeah, it's funny because the original sort of concept for the show was based on, I just like one night thought like, oh, I'll just look through my old notebooks. And it's funny because like most of it was, ridiculous because was stuff I wrote when I was like 13, 14. But then like there's that line where you're like, oh shit, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's like
Deep.
Yeah. And just looking back on it, you're like, oh, that's why I kept doing it.
Yeah.
So what do you usually write with? Do you usually write with guitar or piano or?
Yeah, so now I very much don't write to guitar as much as I would like to. Over the past week, actually, I posted on Instagram, someone teach me chords, please. And then one of my friends tagged their friend who's a guitar teacher who was like, I can teach you. And I was like, whoa, quick manifestations. Look at the internet. Help me.
Thank you, Instagram.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I taught myself when I was a teenager, I can literally go on the internet and just kind of figure it out. So I'm setting the intention of starting to write with guitar again. But now typically I write in the room with other producers who are kind of doodling about on the instruments. So you usually
have sort of an instrumentalist and you're, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, which is it's cool to be able to collaborate with someone else in that way and to build something together, which took me a long time to be comfortable with because before music was this private thing that I wrote by myself and then shared if I wanted to. And now it is this private thing that I'm creating with other people in a very not private space. But I've learned to feel comfortable in that and to feel, I think when I was uncomfortable with it was when I felt like I was proving myself in this expression. And now it's very much just am I enjoying this? Yes. Okay, let's keep doing it. No, what about the situation am I not enjoying and how can we adjust? And it's not about being performative or being cool or, writing the best song ever. It's just about being honest in this moment with these people and seeing what happens.
I love that so much. I feel like the best music comes from an honest place, and you can definitely tell when it doesn't, and it doesn't feel genuine. Is that why the switch to Bob Love? New project, new approach?
Yeah, so Bob Love came from this place of wanting to have my music reflect more honestly just my world, both internal and external, and allowing it to be this sort of free space that whatever happens, happens, and I got to just kind of follow my joy and follow that childhood innocence and, jump around when I feel like jumping around and cry on the bed when I feel like crying on the bed and let that all just kind of pour into the world that I'm creating and hopefully the culture and community and future that I'm a part of creating, because I think that is what art and music does. It not only reflects culture and speaks to history and speaks to the present, but it also creates the future and creates ideas and communities and allows people to see their experiences and themselves reflected in a way that we don't see in any other space in society, I don't think. because it's not about what you look like. It's about what you feel like, and it's about what you experience, and it's about so much more than, you know, these 3D bodies that we have somehow confused to think that they are what we are when they are how we are, you know? They are how we get to be in the world. They are
it's
not
the
what
vessel,
we are.
not
Yeah.
the not
Yeah.
the substance.
And I
So-
love you're really creating a community with Bob Love. Like
I hope so. That's
yeah,
the goal.
for the love of Bob. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's like the thing that most excited me about researching you. Yeah, seeing the website, seeing like all like the media around it, like it's beautiful because it speaks to that, to what you're just saying. So was that something that just kind of like all happened, or did you have ideas to bring it about? Like,
Yeah, so I wrote the song Ignorant Song with a friend of mine from college. We wrote it while I was still sort of like in the depths of Faye and in this sort of tumultuous, turbulent time in my life. And the song just kind of, I don't know where it came from, but he was like, I want to try this like kind of girl band rock thing with you. Let's just like have fun and try this. And I was like, yeah, for sure. I mean, why not? Like, there's
Sure.
literally nothing to lose. And he was playing the bass, and it was kind of all over the place. And I was sitting there.
is that fuzzed out bass?
Yeah,
Like, doo-doo?
yeah,
Yeah, it sounds so good.
And it took like 25 minutes to get to that chord progression, I guess. But I was sitting there and he was playing, and I was like, this is not what I was expecting. Like, I don't know how this is going to come together. This sounds crazy and all over the place. And then all of a sudden that doo-doo-doo-doo like came
Yeah.
into focus, and I was like, oh,
There it
shit.
is.
Okay, there it
Yeah.
is. And then this melody and these words just came out, like they just came out of me, and I was like, I have this idea. I'm going to sing it. It's going to sound like yelling. I don't know. Here we go. And I sang it for him, and he was like, yeah, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
this is really special. And so we wrote the rest of the song together, and it sat on my laptop and his hard drive for like 2 years maybe. And I kept coming back to it. I was like, this feels special. Like, I have not felt excited about something I've created in the way that I feel excited about this probably ever, because it just feels like something, like it expresses a feeling that I have so well, and it feels like something I've never felt before. Like, when I listen to it, I feel something I've never felt before. And so that was kind of the spark that lit this, like, what kind of music could you be making? Like, what else is there out there? What are you not exploring? And then that came to question, like, okay, with your identity, you believe you are this thing. Like, what else is out there that you are not exploring because you believe you are this one thing? And that kind of just opened this box of, like, I am the universe.
Yes.
The universe is me. You can do and be and say and create the performance of your life in the way that you want to. And yes, there are going to be consequences for the choices that you make. Like, you can do whatever you want, but you also have to deal with the consequences that come with those choices. And I was creating something at the time that just did not feel like it encompassed enough of me, and it didn't feel like it encompassed enough of a global community, and it didn't represent enough of what life meant to me. So I decided, yeah, I want to do a new project. I'm going to take this risk and like let go of what I've spent so long building, and like have invested my time and money and energy, and just like
Which is hard to do.
built relationships
Yeah.
around. Yeah, it was really hard, and it was like a scary choice to make, but something in me just said, like, this is the risk worth taking if you're ever going to take a risk. And so, yeah, I decided. I didn't know what the project was going to be called. I didn't know like when it was going to come out. I was completely like self-managed, booking my own shows, doing my own marketing, like doing everything myself. And I met with, well, except PR, I met with my publicist, or the assistant of my publicist, here in LA, like March, right before COVID hit.
Oh boy, wow.
And we like went for coffee, and I played her some of the new music, and she was like, this is really like special and exciting, and I want to help you. Like, do you need a manager? And so she's been working with me now as my manager for the past year and a half. And yeah, the idea of Bob Love came, like the name itself came from me. When I text my partner, I call him BB Love.
Aw.
And my phone always autocorrected it to Bob Love. And the first time I saw that, I was like, I don't know what this means, but I like this. Gonna like just store it in the good old noggin here. And then when it came time to find the name for the new project, I wanted something that was not necessarily like super feminine, that was kind of androgynous and could be anyone or anywhere or anything. It could be a group, it could be a person, it could be like whatever. And Bob Love kept popping into my head. And so I was like, I think it's supposed to be Bob Love. Like
It's
this
perfect.
name came
Love
to
it.
me
Yeah.
from the ether. Like
Yes.
this is about
Ah.
exploring the ether and just like exploring being. And it is about love and it's about community and it's about just like the love that I was able to find for myself in letting go of all these preconceived notions of who I believed other people believed I was supposed to be. So yeah, it was kind of like my liberation from the matrix that I had created for myself, which then led to the song Matrix. And the spelling BXB Love just came from there's an old man in like Tennessee releasing music under the name Bob Love.
Which, you know, it's
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So-
funny though because the X.
Mr. Love,
Yeah.
Mr. Bob Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And that
X
was
makes
kind of, I
sense.
wanted people to call me like Miss Love or, I mean,
Miss
people can call me
Love,
whatever.
Miss-
Love, Miss Love, Bob, BB. But I think the X, kind of like demasculinizes
Yeah,
it
it
in
makes
a
it
way.
more gender
Yeah,
fluid. Well, I mean, it's like when you refer to somebody as being Latinx. I feel like that's kind of like in the lexicon.
Yeah, putting the X there kind of like liberates it even more to
Yeah.
Love that.
me. Yeah, so that's kind of where that comes from.
And so for the love of Bob, like where that phrase in particular was
Yeah.
just like a play on that, or was there like,
That I honestly have no idea where that came from. I think
I mean, it's
just
cute.
like for the love of God.
Yeah, for the
love of
like,
God. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob
Yet
is
again.
love. Like
it's funny
Bob
because
is
it's
love.
like BXB. It's like it's all about being. It's all
Yeah.
about presence,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's great. So many levels to
Yeah.
it.
yeah, the whole thing has been very just serendipitous, which I really appreciate because to me, like it's just that means like the choices you're making are falling together in a way that allows you to continue to make choices that align with the way things are falling. I don't know if that just made any sense.
Kismet,
I
right?
get it.
Sense?
Yeah.
I get it.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Being in flow kind
Yeah.
of thing.
In flow,
And, like,
yeah.
Knowing that I knew I wanted something different, but I didn't know what I wanted that to look like. And then here came this person who I happened to run into at a party that I happened to go to. And we happened to have a conversation and then decided to have a session. And it all just like came together in a way that like I could have never planned. I could have never expected or known or yeah, it just presented itself in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. And it just doesn't seem like an accident.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the like being prepared and being lucky. Like I spent all this time, going to Berkeley where I then got to connect with this person who also went to Berkeley who I never hung out with or knew at Berkeley, but met here in LA, who then like completely shifted the path that I ended up being on. And
So rad.
You just never know.
you just
never know.
Yeah.
So be nice to everybody, right?
Literally.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Always.
That also.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not because they may be able to do something for you one day, but just because like they are you. They're a reflection of you. Like the way
Yeah.
you treat people
Yeah.
is a reflection of the things you believe about
Well,
yourself,
Do it
yeah,
for the love
and
of Bob.
just
Yep.
well,
And Bob
right.
is
For
you.
the love of Bob.
Bob is you.
Bob is all of us.
Do it for the potential to just like connect with another human,
Yeah.
if only for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kindness is never a mistake.
And it's all love.
It's all
If
love.
it's not love, it's not real. I don't know.
So, what's the future plans for Bob Love?
The future plans for Bob Love is world domination.
Yes. Immediately.
The cult of love. No, I'm kidding. My boyfriend's like, don't start a cult. I'm like, I won't. What about a commune or like a? No, there's no cult. But yeah, I just want to spread love and spread, not spread. I want to play my part in creating the future that I believe that we can have with each other. And I think that starts with art and culture and music and within that education, and just like showing people the vast number of possibilities that exist outside of this sort of like limited view that we currently have of what we're supposed to be here on this
Yeah.
planet and what we can achieve.
I love it. And there's the Discord, right? So people can join and
Oh
like,
God, there is. We're
yeah.
kind of on pause with the Discord just
Yeah.
because it's kind of like, okay, so there is something about the name BXB Love in the like fandom / fan fiction world. BXB Love means boy on boy love.
Oh,
So-
you know, something about that did come up in the
Yeah.
Google search, and I didn't
Yeah.
explore it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. That's what it was.
So I
Okay.
think people are coming to the Discord with different expectations than what it actually is for. So and I also just like haven't been able to engage in the space in the way that I would like, just because I have a lot on my plate. But yes, the Discord is there. It is meant to be a space for people to, you know, communicate and talk about sort of the ideas that I explore in my music and, you know, plan and plot for a better world. And right now it's just not that. One, I think because there's just not enough people in the space, so it's like weird to start conversations.
Yeah.
But yes, it is there, and I will be sort of like reimagining it over the
Yeah.
coming months and figuring it out.
I love that, like the invitation for participation from your fans to collaborate in this art community that
Yeah.
you're creating. Yeah, there's so many amazing things you can do with that too, and that's great because it's such an experiential world right now where people like instead of just being passive participants, passive audience members, they want to participate and be
Yeah.
active participants.
Yeah.
And you're inviting them to, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is about the community, and it's about the music, you know, bringing people together over their shared experiences and their perceived differences. And while I may be the sort of like conduit through which the music comes from, Bob Love is not about me per se. Like, it's not about building celebrity or like being the face of a thing and like being famous, and like sure, maybe all those things come with being in music, but at the end of the day, I really want it to be about the people listening to this music and the people that this music speaks to, and just creating a space in which they feel seen and heard, and you know, can feel safe in their experiences and feel empowered in their being.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of the truest purpose of creating art
Yeah.
is really for what it's going to mean to your audience.
Yeah. And I think we forget that, though.
Oh, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because so many people who make art are, you know, at least get to a place where they're very ego driven, or
Yeah.
it really is all about them. But I
Yeah.
love the idea that your art is more about your audience than you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God,
Thank you.
This is great.
thank you so much.
I know. Thank you, Bob
I-
You're
Love.
amazing. Thank you so
I
much.
feel like
guys.
I feel like I just got like a serious life lesson.
I know.
I'm
this
honored.
is like profound. It's like therapeutic and stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Bob Love.
Thank you for having me.
I have a
I'm
lot to think
super honored
about.
to be here. Same time next week? Like,
Yeah, we'll be here.
More.
Yeah. Lessons with Bob. Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Well, that was our interview with Bob Love, and I don't know about you guys, but I am completely mind blown by how wise and grounded Natasha is.
Yes.
I mean, it was like life lessons all around.
Lessons with Bob.
Life lessons for the love of Bob.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people have said it before, but you know, when she said it, it just made so much more sense. How like we're all one, and like love is everything. And yeah, she's going places. That girl. Bob Love released a mixtape, Consistently Inconsistent, as well as a video for the song Losers. She left this month to go on tour with Autographs, so check them out in your city. You can follow Bob Love on Instagram at 4. That's the number 4. The Love of Bob. You can also follow us on Instagram, but mostly we hope you will subscribe, rate, and review, because that's what helps us get into that algorithm and into more ears. So check out our show notes for links to all the things. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. See ya.
Yay.
Bye.